Yes, you are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports Disorder. And I am your unorthodox statistician, still wanting FSU to win, beat Notre Dame 2-5. And then we got, of course, Mr. Logical, born in Texas, raised in VA, representing New Jerusalem. He said that Shaquille O'Neal is the best center of all time.
To be facts, though.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know about all that, but that's what he said. But yo, like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things. And tonight, we're going to talk to you about picks. A little bit around the association. We haven't talked on much basketball yet. Get it tonight. And then, of course, we're going to start this thing off with get it off my chest. So, Mr. Logical.
You
know what I hate?
Let's hear it.
I hate when people go online, see things, don't verify it, don't research it, and they just run with it. So earlier today, I was up on X trying to avoid all the Elon posts. You know, I couldn't. But as I was scrolling through past all his posts, I got to Texas Tech accusing Colorado University of hating the American flag and not wanting to be affiliated with the American flag. Because Texas Tech Outfitters, you know, the store, you know, came together and wanted to put Colorado on a shirt with Texas Tech because they're playing tomorrow and it's Veterans Day weekend. So they wanted to call it Celebrate America. So they wanted both teams' helmets on the shirt. So Colorado said no. Texas Tech went back, made some modifications, came back. Colorado said, not interested. You know, so they said, what? So somebody, I don't know who, somebody put out information. They got the news stations involved. Colorado turned down American flag. So then I said, you know what? Before I even react to this, before I even go all Colin Kaepernick on this, let me click on something real quick. And then I went down a rabbit hole. And you know what I found, Mr. Logical?
Let's hear it.
I found that before the season, Coach Prime had his players training with the Navy SEALs so that they can build their endurance and play better and go through tough physical activities so that they could be ready for the football season. When Army came to play Colorado State, he hosted Army on campus. And Army even publicly thanked him for his hospitality. You know, they had a couple of weeks ago when they played Cincinnati and they had those gray helmets, they had the American flag inside the buffalo. Now, granted, it wasn't red, white, and blue, but neither is the cop flag. You know, so I don't understand what we're trying to do. We just had this election the other day. And, you know, a lot of this stuff and a lot of these conversations have been racially charged. You know, like, I'm not calling anybody anything. I'm just saying there's been a lot of racial elements in these conversations. People are mad at each other, whether it's who they voted for or what they voted for. And here we are, you know, Texas Tech, not the football team, but this store that's affiliated with Texas Tech decided to pick on the polarizing black coach who probably didn't even know this was going on. Colorado doesn't want to be affiliated with the American flag, knowing what that was going to do. So you know what I will do? I will give some props, and I will say, you know what? Whoever made those T-shirts, props, because that was a hell of a marketing scheme. But this is the problem, though. Hopefully, and this is just me, maybe I'm overreacting, but hopefully you didn't put any Colorado fans at that game tomorrow in danger. Because these people get charged up about this American flag. They're going to be wearing their shirts celebrating America. They're going to see some Colorado fans with some yellow and gold, some gold and black, and they're going to say, where's your American flag? Oh, your liberal-ass school didn't want to support America and represent the troops. But you know what the funny thing about it is, Mr. Logical? All you got to do is look at Colorado's schedule, and you will see that their game against Utah next week, go Utes, is the salute to service game. Stop it.
People
Verify,
like outrage.
research. Stop running your damn mouths until you know what's actually going on.
People don't want to do that. You mean I gotta learn something? I gotta verify.
I'm just saying,
something?
man. I just don't want the fans to be in danger. I just don't want the fans to be in danger because people going to be at that game down in Lubbock. They're going to be inebriated. You know what I'm saying? They're going to see some Colorado fans.
Whoever you voted for not paying your bail money.
They're going to have some Colorado fans.
For disorderly conduct.
You're going to have some Colorado fans that have a lot of melanin. And those inebriated people going to be talking trash to them.
Like, this is Texas. This is what we do. We fight.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, like, I remember when Donald Trump first won the election, and I had a lot of people who were on either side of the coin. I was like, listen, man, y'all got to get back to your life, because now that they got their votes, it's not going to be a lot of, like, hardcore positive changes that go in your way. That's not how the federal government works. They're up here. It's like corporate. Your company you work for doesn't care about the air conditioning in your building when their headquarters is in Tampa and you're working at a satellite location in Oklahoma. It's like your core people in that room, those people care about the air conditioning, the people you work with, and they care about the condition of the building. Yeah, the corporate, they'll cut your checks and you pay into your 401k, but like that's the federal government. Like your local stuff is more important. So the people you're beefing with, those are the people you need. These are the people you need to make sure your kids go to the same school. You need to make sure that school gets money. So don't go to these games wearing your political affiliation on your T-shirt and get some drunken disorderly conduct and get that ass whooped, because let's keep it 100. We can put it in YouTube and put in fight videos. It's not a lot of dudes that know how to really throw hands and work their shoulder. It's a lot of dudes throwing hands.
Shout out to Tim Anderson.
Getting their ass kicked in front of their girlfriends and their kids. And it's like,
but like I said, like
not bailing you out. Collins not bailing you out. Joe Biden's not sending you a chariot of
as Mr. Logical says,
for your bail money.
As Mr. Logical says, don't bring feelings to a fact fight. So, you know what I'm saying? There's a whole lot of feelings going on in Lubbock. And I don't know how many people actually saw, like Colorado made a statement saying that, like, you know, that's not true. We don't have any beef with the flag. We have the flag on the back of our helmet. You know, we had the flag in our buffalo. So calm down. And hopefully, like I said, there's not a lot of, you know, verbal attacks that cross the line and then fights.
Fake patriotism.
Right.
You want to fight, sign up to go to Afghanistan. There's still shit popping off over there. You can go work in Iraq if you want. You can do security in the desert. You can go work in a little substation in Bahrain.
But it was just easy to do. I mean, it is Veterans Day weekend, so it was easy to do that. And then you just happen to be playing Colorado of all people, like the media moguls that they are, you know, as a football team, and you know who is the head coach. So, Coach Prom, I got your back on this one.
I agree.
And go kick Texas Tech's ass tomorrow.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. Well, my get off my chest is a little different. It's kind of ironic considering that me and Mr. Wilson here have our own podcast. But I got a beef with the NBA player podcast. I know you guys saw Jeff Teague do his thing, and he's a great storyteller. The dynamic of his group is great. The setting, excuse me, his cadence, his storytelling, like the way he's willing to put videos and video evidence to the stories, I think is great. I love what KG and Paul Pierce do, because they sound like two old retired dudes talking about, you know, and I appreciate it. I need Gilbert Arenas and his entourage. I need y'all to get on board with not sounding like a a, a, a degenerate sports group comment section. It's like y'all are just yelling random shit. Oh, he's not better than me. He want better than me. Blah blah blah. If I didn't hurt my knee, it's like, yo, come on. Y'all have way more insight. You've been in so many locker rooms, so many
Right.
coaches. There's way better stories you can tell, and way better conversations you can have. Besides these same hypothetical ones that I have with the people I know who don't know shit about the league. You've been in locker rooms, either all-star games or you've been in training sessions with guys like AI, Chauncey Billups. You've been in there with Gary Payton. You might have got to, like, some of these guys, like Kenyon Martin came to the league, was like late, like
Like
some in the
2001,
90s.
2002, maybe?
I think somewhere around that,
Maybe 98. No, 98,
maybe
99.
90. Yeah, so like
Yeah.
he got that early Kobe. So give me that story. Give me though, like, yo, one time I had Kobe on the block. I'm killing him. They had to sub him out the game. What do you mean? Listen, man, I put like 14 on Kobe in the second quarter. Give me that story. Don't give me the what would Steph be without the 3-point shot. It's like such an asinine, silly conversation, considering the access to information that you guys have. And I just think they end up yelling. And it sounds like I said, it sounds like they are reading a script from an
Yeah,
NBA.
Rashard McCant talked about I would rather have Reggie Miller's career than LeBron James.
Yeah, like stuff like that. It's like, dog, just talk about your career. You're one of a few thousand people to ever play a substantial amount of time, get a couple of contracts in the NBA. Not that many people have done it. I know it doesn't seem like people care about that. Like, I think it's more. I think it's just as incredible that you grew up playing basketball. You got to the height of 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", 6'10", and then you joined the best basketball league in the world, and you played it for a few years. It's way more interesting stuff that went on the planes, in the locker rooms, on road trips, and conversations. Maybe one of you had a conversation with David Stern. It's like, yo, God rest his soul, but I sat down with David Stern one time. He didn't like when I was wearing a headband. And, give me that. Don't give me the stuff that makes me click off of your podcast. I tap into Jeff Teague's podcast because he brings people on who were there in the events where he's telling stories. I didn't realize how many teams he played for. And like all these random things about, like, man, I never beat LeBron at all in the playoffs. He was like, yeah, so I shoved him. I was sick of him. I was sick of losing to him. And then I thought we had him. And he was like, we got y'all figured out. And we blew a 23-point lead. Like, that's a great conversation. Not just nonsense of like, oh, take away the 3. What do you have? Like, okay, take away 4 of his fingers. I'm like, what the fuck?
And then they used AI's crossover as the comparison. I'm like, why not take away his speed?
So yeah, I think Gilbert is more tapped in. I think he uses his post basketball platform well. I think his personality fits. I just wish that they didn't sound like people who didn't do anything with the NBA. Like, you had this insight, you have this knowledge, you have better information that you can talk about on these podcasts. Like, even the hood rat shit, even the groupie stuff, and yada. I'm good with that because at least that's interesting. It's not interesting to have a conversation like, let's take away Jordan's ability to dunk. How good would he be? Like, that sounds fucking silly.
I mean, yeah, where's Kwame
Take
Brown?
away my personality. Would I still be charming? No. You took away my fucking personality. What do you think? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So just put more effort into your show, other than just resting on the fact that you played basketball and now people go watch me talk about whatever. Put some real effort into it. Make it entertaining. I mean, for the fans.
And there you have it. Jersey Strong from Mr. Logical. Yo, so I talked about it the other day. I broke it down. I talked about, hey, Washington, Detroit. That's my dream NFC championship game. But I'm going to take it one game at a time. And I'm starting with the Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend. Brian Robinson Jr. out for the second straight game. Washington hasn't been 8-2 since I was 5 years old. You know what I'm saying? 5 years old. You know what I'm saying? And it's just crazy. You know what I'm saying? Welcome to the show. Thanks for the comment. Appreciate that. Exactly. Just the meat and potatoes. Just say what we want to say or what we want to hear and just move on. But so
Exactly.
I was hoping that Marshawn Lattimore was going to play, but he's out with the hamstring. But I get it. We got Philly on Thursday night. So, you want to get these guys some rest so potentially he can go against A.J. Brown, and have Brian Robinson for that game. So, my question about this game is, can Washington's offensive line hold up? T.J. Watt coming through. They went out and got Preston Smith from the Packers the other day. Washington, on the other hand, needs to make Russ make quick decisions. So Russ looks great when he's back there. He's got a few seconds and he could throw over the top. But can he, for all the time that he missed, all the rustiness, can he make the quick throws? You know what I'm saying? So, that's my question about this game. Washington and Jaden Daniels can't make the mistakes. He's done a good job so far. Numbers, are matching close to RG3's in his rookie year. Pittsburgh hasn't played an offense, in my opinion, who could put pressure on them this way, outside of maybe Anthony Richardson, but he got banged up in that game. Got up. They lost that game, by the way.
What
So
about
look,
Dallas? What about Dallas offense?
Dallas offense, they scored like 16.
17. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
But I
Nah.
think they held them in check. I mean, literally, it's a fourth and goal. Late in the fourth to give them the lead.
Yeah, I know, but look, man, I say all that to say, give me Washington, man. I'm taking the W. I'm taking the Burger King W.
I like everything you said. I'm not sure if Jaden Daniels has. I know he's been sacked about 17 times this year, which isn't a lot considering a couple of guys have been sacked 6 or 7 times in one game this year. Some vets and even some rookies. So 17 sacks for him is a lot. But, I mean, not as bad. Excuse me. I just feel like he's playing mistake-free football, and he's not going to throw it into too many tight windows. So I give Pittsburgh the shot at just kind of making a play happen defensively, or just keeping it to where you know what, it's 3rd and 7 a lot. You got to make this throw. You're gonna have to make this tight window throw with T.J. Watt bearing down on you. You're gonna have to make these throws, and I just think that Pittsburgh's gonna get their hands on a couple of tip passes, maybe not interceptions, but they're gonna be drive killers. I think they're going to be able to kill drives with their defense. I don't think they're going to give up the mistakes like Cincinnati did when he threw the touchdown to McLaurin. I just think that Pittsburgh is going to just stay more sound because Russ is going to put him in a bad position. Russ is not going to throw a bad pick. He might not move the ball and scramble, but I think he's going to keep it simple. I think I'm looking at like a 23-17 game. Very slow, grinded out game. I don't know what the weather's going to be, but it's going to feel like it's going to play out like a sluggish game, like the weather is dictating the pace. But really, I think it's just going to be we need to make sure we don't make the mistake and give momentum to the young hot team with nothing to lose. They're playing with house money. Washington's playing with house money. Like no one expected them to be this far, this good, and even at 7-2. The pressure to go 8-2, there's no pressure there.
No pressure.
So it's like, we lead this game 7-3. We regroup, whatever the case may be. It's not a division game. I think it allowed them to play loose, and I believe Pittsburgh, because they're in a division with Baltimore, they're gonna have to maintain that lead with just wins until they match up with their. They got all six of their division games are after the bye. So,
yeah, and Washington's 2-0 in the division right now. So, I just want to get out this game healthy, go to Philly on Thursday and have a division game, go 3-0 in the division. But Mr. Logical, I had some thoughts. I had some conflicting thoughts, as my wife would say. I had some intrusive thoughts.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I thought to myself, I know they went to Baltimore last week. And they got the smackdown put on them. But the last time I remember Denver playing Kansas City, it was in Mile High. Denver walked out with a 24-9 win, shut down Patrick Mahomes. Now they're going to Arrowhead. But I can't wrap my mind around it because they got a rookie quarterback and you got Steve Spagnuolo on the other sideline trying to, confuse you, throw you off. And I just don't see how Bo Nix can navigate through that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be one of those games. It's going to be those back to back weeks where you're just facing a team that has a defense that just kind of built to be disruptive.
And I do think Denver has
And
the best
and
corner.
an offense that's designed to score points. Like you have a quarterback coach combination that's like, yo, let's go get these points where we can get these points. The defense is disruptive, and you're a rookie trying to decipher all that. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because he's going to make a mistake early.
Well, I wonder if Sean Payton's going to try to outsmart himself and, go for a 4th and 3 that is totally unnecessary. You talked about this a few weeks ago where teams play against the favorites or the big favorites, and then they're I got to go get a touchdown. I can't take 3.
He's not kicking a field goal, 4th and goal inside of the 4. So at the 4, they probably kick the field goal. 3.99, they're going for it. Because it's going to be in that whole, you can't beat the champs. Yes, you can. You can win plenty of games 3-0. Like, matter of fact, you can win every game 3-0 if you hold the other team to 0 points. So take the points. But they won't get that many opportunities. I got Kansas City winning. It won't be like, excuse me, a little under the weather, apologize. It won't be like a vintage Mahomes game. I don't think he's going to air it out yet.
Yeah, 11 touchdowns, 9 interceptions on the season.
I don't think him and Worthy are on the same page at all. Like honestly, if I'm Worthy, I'm at his house. Like I'm at his house at dinner. Sorry, Brittany. I help put the kids to bed, but I need to pick this guy's brain. I need to know exactly where to be because with your speed, if he can start catching routes that they check to or like drag routes, just those routes that make the defense say, God damn it, now we got to cover him. Because that's what Kelsey does. Kelsey's like 35, 36, a lot of miles, a lot of playoff games, a lot of hits. Had 13 catches last week.
Because they got DeAndre Hopkins out there now.
I don't need to run 40 yards down the field to get open. I need to run 13 and a half yards and turn.
And that's why
Mahomes is rolling this way, I lean my guy so I can get the ball here.
And I think Kelsey's going to have another big game because DeAndre Hopkins is going to be preoccupied with the best corner in the league. And then you got on the Denver side, can anybody get open and catch the ball besides Cortland Sutton? 7 catches, 122 last week. I got to see the Denver receiver step up.
If I'm Denver, I'm taking a handful of plays and I'm shifting the defense where I got Surtain on Kelsey.
Yeah.
And I'll see the size. I'm pretty sure Surtain, they have Kelsey probably around 250, 260. Surtain is probably 210, 215. I mean, maybe big corner, but he probably doesn't match up size wise. But I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take away Kelsey and I'm gonna see if the rookie speedster can figure it out.
Well, if you take the guy that's been here for 2 weeks, DeAndre Hopkins is going to kill you.
That guy's only been here 2 weeks. We saw last week in after Tampa Bay tied the game, where they should have gone for 2. We'll talk about those conversations later. After Tampa Bay tied that game, that check that Mahomes is trying to throw to DeAndre Hopkins, he didn't get. And if Winfield's playing it a little tighter, he picks that off with about 12 seconds left inside of, in Kansas City territory. So I don't know how much information they exchanged over the last couple of weeks, but he's only been there a couple of weeks. So I figured I'll put a corner on Kelsey and just cool, you can eat underneath, but every once in a while, third and 8, I'm putting Surtain on you.
Okay. So I know in college football, we talk about consistency. We talk about trap games. Are you looking ahead to the next week? You think that happens in the NFL?
Yes.
Because I am nervous. I am nervous about Buffalo going to Indianapolis with Kansas City on deck next week.
Yeah, who's Indy starting
Joe
quarterback wise?
Flacco.
Nah, they got nothing to worry about.
You know,
Joe
they
Flacco's not gonna surprise you.
Michael Pittman's out, you know, but on the other side, Keon Coleman's out. You know, waiting on word to see if Amari Cooper's going to play or not.
One
You
side
know,
has Josh Allen and the other side doesn't.
all right, well, there you go. Give me
Yeah,
Buffalo. See
yeah,
how
give me
simple that
Buffalo.
was? And by the
Yeah,
way, the Colts just put their starting center on IR. So, you know, Von Miller, you know, have a day, sir. Have a day. All right. So, you know, Eagles and Cowboys.
give me the Eagles
You know, Cooper Rush, 5-1. You
as a
know,
starter with a real defense. It's not the case.
it's not the
Don't be on
case.
my line talk about this. I get it. People keep saying that. It's like, yeah, they were allowing 15 points in those 6 games that they started. They're not doing that this week.
Yeah, give me a whole lot of Saquon. So let's take it to the desert. And I know you ain't going to like this. Let's take it to the desert.
Let's hear it.
I'm feeling froggy.
You gonna
That
feel the
means I'm
Jets?
feeling green. That means that I think the New York Jets are going to go into the desert and walk out victorious. You know, Arizona gives up 133 rushing yards a game. So the Jets should be able to get balance that they don't normally get. You know, I would like to think, not to say that they're going to turn their season around, but I would like to think that they turned a corner last week against Houston. And they're going to make Kyler Murray have to freestyle, which he's good at, you know, but you know, one thing I will give the Cardinals defense though, they've played Justin Herbert and Caleb Williams the last 2 weeks, didn't give up a touchdown pass to either one.
Oh
But I
yeah,
think,
those are really good examples though. Those are average
hey, Justin
quarterbacks.
Herbert's pretty good. He had his first 300-yard game last
Yeah,
week.
he's above average looking, average performing.
But I think this is going to come down to the last possession of the game. I'm taking the Jets in the upset.
At any point, if Arizona can get up 10 points, they got the game won because Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back from deficits at all, especially in the second half. So Arizona should just be like, you know what? Keep the pressure on. Take the points. We can take the points. Keep Aaron on the sideline. If you can get away with a couple of holding calls, do it.
Kansas City style.
I'm talking about defensive holding. That frustrates the hell out of Aaron when he can't get the ball. When his passes don't look accurate, it bothers him the most. Aaron Rodgers will never go into a game and go 25 for 50. He just won't. He won't. He'll check out of it. If he's 26 for 35, he's not throwing him any more incomplete passes. He does not want his stats to look bad at all. He prides himself on not throwing interceptions. Sometimes you gotta throw it up, be like, yo, Devontae's down there somewhere.
Well, he's thrown 7 so far this year.
Because he was trying to like throw like these perfectly back shoulder passes. Some of them been tipped, but like he's trying to throw these perfect passes versus just, yo, let's make these plays throughout the game. And he wants perfect passes. Like you're not going to get perfect. I would have taken him last week against Houston. But we didn't talk about it. But I don't think it rides 2 weeks in a row. I got Arizona at home.
Okay. Well, Mr. Logical, guess who's Bazak? CMC.
How many touches is he getting? 12?
That's what I want to know because that matters to me. Because are they going to try to force feed him the ball because he's back now, or are they going to have him on a pitch count? Jordan Mason is 4th in the league in rushing. They're going up against Tampa Bay. So Brock Purdy should be able to get a little loose. Jawan Jennings should be back. Hopefully, it looks like he's trending towards playing this weekend. But I have to step back for a second, and I know we're upset about the 2-point decision, but maybe Todd Bowles is a better coach than I thought because he's got Tampa competitive. He's got Tampa, playing hard. They're still playing for him, if you will, but they just got a lot of injuries. They don't have a secondary. They are running the ball a lot more, which I've been looking for them to do. But I think this game is going to come down, or as far as Tampa, their offense is going to come down to Cade Otton. How often can he get open? How often can he make a play on third
And with the
down?
linebacker core and the linebacking construct and how they defend, it's going to be tough. I mean,
that's why I'm taking the 49ers. And
I take the 49ers. Tampa Bay, Todd Bowles, TB for TB. He's a good coach. He doesn't have a lot of emotion.
Right.
He's not out here like trying to be all in a video. I mean, he's like, yo, if you want to play some real football, come down to Tampa Bay. It just is. You got to have weapons. Like we didn't really elaborate on Dallas. I'm not trying to like discredit them, but it's like when you have a roster like that, and the your replacement is nowhere near the starter that's out. That's a huge drop off. People make it sound like no, it's about the scheme. Listen, Jordan Addison is a good wide receiver. Justin Jefferson is great. If you don't have both of them, there's no way that the third and fourth guy you had compared to the 1 and 2 combination that you have. So with Tampa Bay not having Godwin, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, they gave Kansas City all they can handle. Kansas City's a weird undefeated team. It's a lot
and that
like
is one of my
the
concerns
Pittsburgh.
because Travarius Ward is out. He stepped away from the team for a little bit. He had the tragedy with his daughter. So they're going to do a service for her. So he's not going to be there this weekend. So, but that would bother me if Mike Evans and Godwin were there, or at least one of them, but neither one of them are there. So that's why I think the 49ers are going to win this game. I don't want to say it's going to be easy, but I got it double digits.
I think the final score will make it look. I think the final score will make it look more competitive, similar to the Dallas Atlanta game 27-21. It wasn't a 27-21 game.
See, how do you always do that? Because that was the next team I was going to talk about.
I just know.
The Falcons going down to the House of Horrors, but there's no monster in that house.
It's their own psyche.
Yeah, Dennis Allen got fired this week. They got the special teams coach as the interim coach. Alvin Kamara is the only hope that the Saints have. Atlanta's going to be able to key on him. The only thing that makes me a little nervous is obviously the Saints hate the Falcons more than anything else. Yeah. But give me the Falcons. Kirk Cousins is new. There's a new aura around the Falcons right now. This is not your big brother's Falcons.
Yeah. And I don't know how much the team in New Orleans really. I mean, you elevated the special teams coach,
right?
The head coach. So it's like, the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, neither one of them were like next in line. It's like you skipped over the president, the vice president, and the treasurer to get the speaker of the house to be next. Like you skipped over a lot of people to get the special teams coach to be the new head coach. It just seems like it's more like it's more dysfunctional in that building than led on to. So I'll give them the 8th straight loss.
Worst record in the league. Here it comes. So there you go.
So as long as they have their pick, they're looking good for 2025.
My ugly game of the week that, I try to watch a little bit of every game. I try to have Red Zone on another screen. I don't want to watch Pats and Bears. I don't want to watch Patriots and Bears. I don't want to watch that game. I do want to.
If you had to watch, if they said, listen, you can't leave your house without watching this game in entirety,
I could do it. I love football, so I would do it.
Giants, Panthers, New England, Chicago. Which game?
I would watch Giants. I would watch Giants, Packers.
No, Carolina.
I'm sorry, Giants, Panthers. That's what I meant to say. Yeah,
Packers sounds good.
No. I meant Panthers. I meant Panthers, but the other word came out. I would watch Carolina and
watch the Packers play. I'm talking about.
I would watch Carolina and the Giants. So first of all, give me the Bears. Ramondre Stevenson hasn't hit 50 yards rushing since October 6th. The last 3 games, he's averaging 2.2 yards per carry. Chicago is it's just time. But let me say this. If Chicago loses this game to New England, luckily the game is in Chicago and Eberflus will be able to Uber home.
Oh, yeah. I'm taking New England.
Okay.
Because I just think that Chicago was thinking about it early, and I wish I would have kind of jotted a note down. I thought to myself, pardon me. I was like, why is it that teams like the Jets, Chicago, who else had like a bad run? The Cardinals had a bad run for a very long time. Houston had a little mini bad run. Tennessee's going through theirs. But with Chicago, every team has had like a dynamic quarterback for at least a clip. Either they drafted a guy or they got a guy in free agency. Denver had Peyton Manning for a few years, and he had the 50 plus touchdowns, and they had a couple of Super Bowl runs.
Right, right.
Even though that's not historically, they had John Elway, and then they had Peyton Manning. Not a lot. Obviously, Green Bay's an outlier with Brett Favre, straight to Aaron Rodgers. Even Cincinnati with Carson Palmer, a
Andy
little bit of
Dalton.
Andy Dalton, and then you get Joe Burrow. It's like, how do all these other teams tend to get the quarterback right at least for 4 to 5 years? And Chicago never does. And I was thinking about it today. It was like they just they traded up for Trubisky. Not just they traded up from 3 to 2 with San Francisco, and San Francisco was going to take a defensive lineman anyway. So they gave up draft capital to go from 3 to 2 when they were going to take Solomon. Anyway, keep in mind, Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes went in that draft as well. So it's just that's the thing that kind of blows my mind. And that's why I'm picking New England. It's like Chicago, they married this young quarterback. Like when they had Jay Cutler should have been their guy for 4 or 5 years for 4,500 to 5,000 yards a year.
I don't never had a quarterback go over 4,000.
And that's what it's like. You had Jay Cutler with this cannon on his shoulder and didn't say, you know what? Let's go get the guy who worked under Mike Martz with the greatest show on turf and figure out, can we get that here in Chicago? I don't care who you had in place. It's like, yo, I got this guy with this arm. Snow. Let me get somebody that can maximize that. Eberflus is not good with young quarterbacks. You got rid of a young quarterback that still has some promise to bring in another one that's pretty much turned into a developmental project, and you have no plan to get out of it other than firing the coach. And hopefully that you get the division rivals offensive coordinator in the offseason. Cut it out.
Yeah, Vikings, Jags. Trevor Lawrence is out. So obviously give me the Vikings. Rumor on the street is he may need shoulder surgery and miss the remainder of the season. So our guy McCorkle.
Heard his shoulder sign that contract. That hurt his hamstring run over to sign that contract.
Yeah, but our guy McCorkle is coming in to try to save the day, but I'm taking Minnesota. I am so sorry, Germany. I don't know if this is karma from World War II. I don't know if this is because, I get better sausage patties than some of the sausages that I ate in Germany. I don't know if y'all pissed off everybody, but you get Giants and Panthers. I want to take the Panthers so bad just because the Giants are free falling. And you know what? I'm going to do it. Give me the Panthers.
You know what? I like that you went with that. Because do the Giants care about football right now?
Well, what's funny is they asked. What's funny? They asked Brian Daboll, hey, if you could coach a football game in any stadium, what stadium would you choose? And you know what he said?
Wembley Stadium in England.
He said MetLife Stadium. So he's at that point in his coaching tenure where he's pandering. He's desperate.
Daniel Jones hasn't thrown touchdowns in MetLife Stadium.
Yeah, the Giants are last in the league in red zone touchdown percentage. So when they get to the red zone, they don't get a lot of touchdowns. Jonathan Brooks was activated. We'll see what happens there. Chuba Hubbard just got his new contract. I don't know what they're doing because Miles Sanders is somewhere making some money too. But Dexter Lawrence and the Giants lead the league in sacks. So I mean, give me Carolina. I'm taking the Panthers. I'm gonna jump out on a limb and say that somehow, some way, the Panthers are going to win 2 games in a row.
I'm gonna take the Giants for the sake of conference standings. Like I want every team in the NFC South to lose, so I'm gonna take the Giants for that. And like Daniel Jones, I think the biggest problem that I personally see with him, he doesn't make plays when when you have to improvise. Like he doesn't slide, make a play happen. It just so often is just whatever. Like in those fourth downs a few weeks back, I remember thinking like, yo, you if you just would have waited a second, Slayton was open behind that hitch that you threw, and you had time. And it's like the hitch wasn't open both times. On fourth down, they threw a hitch to the right side, threw a hitch to the left to 17. What's the guy's name?
Um,
Wardell or something like that.
Wandale Robinson.
Wandale Robinson. They
Yeah.
threw hitches to him, and the first time he threw the hitch, it got knocked down. Slayton was open on the backs, like behind him. So,
well, maybe it's like Joe Burrow. Chase Brown says sometimes he don't see it.
Oh, Jamar Chase.
I mean Jamar Chase. Yeah, he said Joe Burrow don't see it.
Yeah, but he saw him to get the touchdown. He saw him like that was a great. I don't think Daniel Jones would have saw that. So that's the biggest problem I have.
You ever notice that Daniel Jones got those? He's got those Rashay Caldwell eyes.
He just looks. I think he's either he's injured and they just drug him up, or he's just a space cadet.
I never noticed how much he looked like Fred Flintstone.
Oh yeah, full on. This should have been his Halloween costume.
But in 2-5s, 10-6 game of the week, you got the Chargers and the Titans with Will Levis coming back. He's back. So something epic is going to happen. And I'm going to say that the Chargers are going to whoop that ass.
I'm calling a flea flicker on the first play.
Yeah.
Just air it out, Will.
You know what he'll do? He'll throw the ball over
for the day.
He'll throw the ball over the top and hit the back judge in the head. That's what happened.
This is your crazy play of the day.
Yeah, Sunday night football.
I'll take Jim Harbaugh.
Okay, Sunday night football. I was tempted to take the Texans if Nico Collins play. But then I turned around and saw that Will Anderson hasn't been practicing. So I'm going to take the Lions. I don't want to go chalk, but I'm going to take the Lions. Jared Goff is on his all-time tear. And, guess what? Oh, by the way, Jameson Williams is back this week from his 2-game suspension. So I think Detroit's going to be able to run the ball. They're the only team in the league that's top 5 in offense and defense. They brought in Zadarius Smith. So, if he plays, C.J. Stroud's going to be doing a whole lot of sideway running.
Houston's interior line is the worst in the league.
Yes, probably.
Guard, center, guard, like statistically, guard, center, guard, they are the worst group in the league. That stat popped up last week when I was watching the Jets game. Right after that stat popped up, the next 2 plays, Jets right up the gut.
There are 2 things.
It wasn't even a good move.
There are 2 things that I like, though. You got D'Amico Ryans with 10 days to prepare some defensive strategies to slow down Detroit. And since he's been the head coach, I know a short period of time, they haven't lost back-to-back games since the first 2 games of last season.
Well, the game they lost last week is a game they shouldn't have lost.
100%.
So that's
NFL, it happens. But then you got so you taking the Lions?
Yeah, I'm taking the Lions.
All right, and then you got Monday Night Football. Please, before this game starts at SoFi Field, check the scoreboard because that thing is going to be lighting up. It might catch fire. Tua and Stafford going up and down the field. The Miami needs this game. The Rams don't necessarily need it per se because their division is all jumbled up together, but they shouldn't lose this game. Can Miami contain Jared Verse? I think we're going to see a lot of Achane, catching passes out the backfield,
a lot of quick, don't get to a hit stuff.
Yes. And I think this is it. This is the moment. I think this is going to be the resurrection of the cheetah. And I know Noah Lyle's been out here watching with a lot of criticism, but this is the game that Tyreek Hill is going to remind people of who he is. I am taking Miami to go to SoFi Field and get a win that they desperately need.
Cool. That makes one of us. I'm taking old reliable, old school, new teeth Matthew Stafford, uh, and Sean McVay with the clipboard making it happen.
All
I, I
right.
just I just feel like Miami they they lost their edge because the thing that gave them their advantage is that they're a track team. They're out front. They're sprinters. They're like like they call them all first things first break dancers. Like that's their claim to fame. They don't really have a grind out toughness. We got to stay level headed because like when they dropped 70 on Denver last year, it was like play money.
Mm-hmm.
They were just like playing around doing whatever they wanted. And that's how they treated the following weeks. But when they got tough games against Kansas City, granted the playoff game, I don't even know how they played it. It was like -24 or something
Yeah,
ridiculous
people
like that.
losing limbs and stuff.
Yeah. Like I love football. I'd never watch Kirk Cousins.
What's the coldest game you've been to? That game you went to last year?
The one I went to in December, it just was raining.
Oh, it wasn't cold
It was
though.
it's probably like 45 degrees. It just was raining. Like it was no wind. And
Right.
I think I had a sweatsuit on and a hoodie with my jersey and a hat. Like that's all I had. So
Yeah, the
it wasn't
cold.
that bad. I went to a couple of rainy games. I've been to rainy games, but I haven't been to many cold games.
Yeah, the coldest game I've been to, sadly to say, wasn't even to see my own team. This was way back in the early 2000s when the Ravens, right after the Ravens first came to Baltimore. I was on leave. Somebody had an extra football ticket. I had to be there because it was the first Monday Night Football game that the Ravens had. So I had to be there playing against the Minnesota Vikings, Randall Cunningham, Randy Moss, Chris Carter, and
Yeah,
it was
you had to go to
12
that game.
degrees. It was 12 degrees and I had to go get some gloves at halftime. But
12 on the harbor?
say yeah,
That's ballsy right there. So
yeah,
the
it was
same
cold.
thing the same thing here, East Rutherford, the MetLife Stadium is right. It's close to the water, but it's not like right on it. But it's close enough to where like you can get some of that, that cool breeze.
While we talking about East Rutherford, I got a bone to pick. Rutgers, you need to play some games at MetLife.
I think they just like playing there. I think
Yeah,
they
you're
like
right.
playing
They're
at their
bummed,
stadium.
so it wouldn't even matter
It's
anyway.
yeah, and they wouldn't sell it out. That's another thing. Like you gotta if you do that, you gotta sell out. If you're gonna play a game at NFL Stadium, you gotta sell it out.
All right, here's the
And
question.
MetLife is like 70,000 seats. I think Rutgers Stadium might be,
It's like 56,000.
if that. Like I've been there. It's not even like it's a tight. It's like probably like closer to 45. It's like the Utah Stadium.
Yeah. So now that we're past the halfway point of the season, real quick, who's your MVP at this moment?
Oh man, it's easy. It's Kirk Cousins, 100%. What Kirk Cousins doing in Atlanta, swag surfing, Kirk chains, walking your trap, take over your trap. Now it's Lamar Jackson. It's Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow second.
It's hard for
Not
me.
not not just I know real. I was being facetious with the Joe Burrow thing. If they were 6-4, I think he'd have a better
Oh,
shot.
he would be the MVP, but it's
And,
hard for me
but
because
no, even at 6, I still think it's Lamar because
I,
Lamar is more
it's
spectacular.
hard for me just because they have Derrick Henry now, but
Their
for the
defense
moment,
is so bad.
I will agree with you. For the moment, I will agree with you. But that's just it's hard for me to
Henry's a
reconcile that.
touchdown machine for sure. He's got a touchdown in every game this year. But there's been 2 or 3 drives in every one of Baltimore's victories, even in their losses, like that play to Isaiah Likely. Like he missed Zay Flowers on the previous play, and then the play to get the ball to Isaiah Likely. We imagine John Harbaugh's going for 2. If he gets that toe in bounds, I'm thinking he's going
Right.
for 2 to win the game. So I think they start off 1-0 there. So even in losses, he's been spectacular. And then last night they were down 21-7, 6 or 7 minutes left in the third, and then he goes on a 4 touchdown tear where it was just like it was vintage Lamar, like especially that scramble at the goal line because I was like, throw it away, throw it away, throw it away. And then he was like, somehow he got around. I'm like, this is what video game. This happened in video game that pissed me off. And then he got down to the 1 yard line. And then the play, like the ability to call that play where he was like running with the ball and then pushed it into his hand and threw the touchdown to Aguilar.
Well,
You can't do that with. You couldn't do that with Tua. You couldn't do that with Matthew Stafford. Like no one's gonna buy it the way they bought that. Aguilar did a little faint, like he was gonna block, and was wide open in the back of the end zone.
so who's your coach of the year?
Coach of the year. It's tough. It's a lot of good candidates. I like Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. I like what he's doing with Sam Darnold, considering that he was a cast off. He lost his quarterback this season. But Brian Flores' defense has kind of been the catalyst for the victory, so it's kind of hard. I like Dan Quinn, but the same thing is like, is it Kingsbury or Kingsbury and
Kingsbury,
yeah. It's tough. Mike Tomlin, but Mike Tomlin has a really good team. I think Tomlin is probably more than running for like give me my respect, not necessarily like an award, like yo respect what I'm doing out here. Oh man, it's.
I think for me,
Dan Campbell was a half away from getting to the Super Bowl, where people feel like he should have gotten the Super Bowl.
I think for me right now, I think it's Sean McDermott. Because Buffalo lost a lot. They lost Poyer, they lost Trey White. Von Miller's been suspended. They don't have any receivers. They went out and got Amari Cooper, but before that, they didn't have any receivers. Somehow Josh Allen isn't turning the ball over. He only got one interception on the season. So just looking at, and right now, they basically got their division won. It's week 10, and Buffalo basically has their division unless they lose out or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's for me. I like Dan Quinn, obviously, but I don't want to be a homer. I know you ain't gonna like that I'm about to say this, but depending on how it looks the next few weeks, I think Sean Payton could get some votes because nobody had Denver doing anything.
Yeah, and I think I probably blocked that out.
yeah. Hey.
They hate blinding me. I'm not gonna front.
You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of answers to this question. I know it's not Nick Sirianni.
And the thing about it, based off how they perform on the field, it very well should be. They can finish this year. Philly might finish this year, man, 12-5.
12-5, yeah.
Easy. They're going to run away with their division. They're going to be resting starters in week 17
I wouldn't
and 18.
say run away, but come on.
Oh, my bad. I'm so conditioned to Dallas being their main competition, so I apologize to the Washington community. But yeah, they're in a position to be like, or they're in a position to beat out like the new hot team and still win a division, even with the turmoil and how people feel about Sirianni. I still think that his ego is going to cost them momentum, but not necessarily gains, because I think the talent can make up for. Like, I think he'll go for it on a 4th and 2
his, press conference
instead of
today?
going up. The one you sent me was like a weird, like he didn't know the report.
Well, no. What happened was they listed Jalen Hurts as he had a hurt ankle, but then they asked him like, "Yo, how's his ankle doing?" And he's like, "Oh, his ankle fine. He's just resting." And it's like, well, he's on the injury report saying that his ankle is hurt. And he's like, "No, his ankle's not hurt. He's just resting." So they're like, "So is he injured or not?" Like, just resting. Like, it was just like this weird thing. Like, is he lying? Like, is he trying to like throw the opponent off or something? Or
I'm not understanding the purpose of the injury report being public. That's a different conversation for a different day.
Right,
and I would love for someone to really like, because in hockey is upper body, lower body. That's the injury report.
There's no specific. Yeah.
To me, that makes the most sense.
And we'll talk about the injury report again here in a little bit because I got something for you.
Okay, because unless it's closely tied to like gambling, because I know the spread has been a huge part of football. Like even my dad was doing football pools when I was growing up, 7, 8, 9, 10. I was
Right.
asking, what is this? What does this mean? So maybe that's part of it. But I don't know if hockey. I imagine that they do, if they have like the odds and things every game, and if it's been like ingrained into the sport. But I think the injury report has to be tied to that in some form or fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Which I feel
Right.
as a coach, I'd lie too.
All right. Last question.
Everybody healthy.
Last question. If you could change your Super Bowl pick today, would you?
Nah, because it's Kansas City, Detroit.
Okay. Okay.
It's just like obviously NFC. I would love for my team to represent, but we don't get to the passer enough. So some guys can you start making some headway and get some more sacks. But picking Kansas City, Detroit preseason, if you laid that bet down, I think you're comfortable with that.
I'm not going to change mine, even though I should. Just because I don't operate like that. Because I had San Francisco and Baltimore.
Yeah. San
San
Francisco is gonna be that's tough.
Yeah, but they're getting healthy now. They got McCaffrey back. So, over the next few weeks, they have a chance to reassert themselves. We'll see. You know, but moving on. So, first, I'm going to start this off, of course, with upset alert. Upset
Let's hear
alert.
it.
So, one more time for the people out there. Upset alert means that the team is going to cover. But then I have actual upsets. So, upset alert. The team is underdogs by 6 or so. I'm saying that they're going to cover, not necessarily win. The win is a bonus, but the upset is just straight up pick. So upset alert. I got one tonight. I'm waiting for the game to come back on because I was watching the Lakers, but I had Wake Forest covering 7 against Cal, and right now they're down 7, or actually they're down 3 with 2:53 left in the game. So it looks good so far. I got Utah. Go Utes. Saying coming off the bye. Zach Wilson's brother got benched in their last game.
Yeah, it looks like they're gonna. They haven't said who's gonna be the starter, but it looks like this other guy,
Yeah, Rose.
Brandon
Yeah,
Rose. Yeah,
yeah. So I'm taking Utah. I might as well take them straight up because it's only a 3-point spread. But I'm gonna just say Utah covers. Clemson and Virginia Tech.
that's an emotional spread. That's a holy war rivalry game spread because bad quarterback plays, your spread should be higher than 3.
Yeah, I got Virginia Tech. They're 6-point underdogs to Clemson. And this is predicated that their quarterback will play. So Virginia Tech, that is, because Kyron Drones, we'll have to see because he missed last week's game against Syracuse. They're playing Clemson this week. Clemson coming off the ugly loss to Louisville. And we're sitting here with Clemson, like what to do with them because the 2 good teams they've played this year, they lost. And they lost badly. So this is not one of those things where it's close. No, they looked awful. Louisville came in there and just smacked them around their own. And it makes me wonder.
You got to win your other games pretty.
Yeah, because it makes me wonder. Many get it off my chest real quick. A lot of people were talking about, oh, look at Florida State. Look at Clemson. They don't need the transfer portal. See, you can't rely on the transfer portal. Dabo was right because he's developing players and not using the transfer portal. Well, you know what? If he had some linebackers last week, they would have won that game against Louisville. If they had a better quarterback, they'd have won that game against Louisville. If they had a wide receiver besides Antoine Williams, they would have won that game last week.
Any way you can legally get good players, you should explore that. You don't always have to. You don't have to rely on it. But if somebody told you, "Hey, man, if you just walk, someone pays you for your steps," you're like, "Nah, man, I only like to drive."
Right.
Okay.
All right. So give me UVA, the Who's, covering the 7.5 against Pitt. Pitt coming off that heartbreaking ass whooping, if that's a thing, because I know usually when we say heartbreak, it's a close game. But it was a heartbreak ass whooping because they were undefeated. They came down here to Dallas, and SMU put it on them. And then finally, and this might as well be an upset pick as well, but give me North Texas to cover this 2.5 against Army. We'll see if Bryson Daly's playing or not. Up in the air, up in the air. Now for the actual upsets. Give me Syracuse over Boston College. Give me Duke over NC State. Give me OU over Missouri. And then finally, Kansas over Iowa State. That's your upset alert and picks. It'll be online in the morning. So let's get right to it, Mr. Logical. You want to talk about injury reports?
Let's hear it.
Why the hell does Lane Kiffin have 24 players on the injury report? What is he trying to accomplish?
So when these dudes fake injuries during the game, he's like, hey, I had him listed on the injury report.
And, so this is why it's hard for me to trust Ole Miss, because Lane Kiffin is always playing these games. Last year when they played...
Sirianni is the NFL's Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, like that's a good comparison. Like last year when they played Bama, he did the whole Taylor Swift castle crumbling thing, and I thought that was hilarious because I love that song too. Don't judge me. But, but they did that and, they lost the game. Every single year he plays these big games. In his career as a head coach in college football, 2-15 against top 10 teams. So even the people that support him have given up and say that he's just not going to win the big game.
Yeah, but
they're
Nick
playing.
Saban's personality doesn't allow him to lose games because he has such a domineering, demanding personality.
But they're
Lane Kiffin's a frat boy. He's a frat boy. He's a funny frat boy. He has recruits riding around in the Bentley. He's entertaining. He's savvy, to the extent of his age on social media. I think he understands how to use his platform and his popularity. He's always saying like little quippy stuff when he does like the SEC Pro Day, like the interviews, and when he's on TV, he always has some kind of sound bite. That's right. What he is. You know what I mean? And he's a pretty good coach. He's moved around. He's made some improvement. Guys can't deny, like, yo, he is a good coach. But when it boils down to it, it's like he's this tier coach, but this tier personality. And sometimes when the coaching doesn't pan out, you just resort to personality.
Well, the one thing that I will agree with him on his sound bites is he was complaining a couple of weeks ago when they had to go to LSU, and he said, how come we don't never get any night games at home? And this is the perfect game to get at night at home at Vaught Hemingway Stadium. You got Georgia coming in, the big bad bully of the South coming in. We saw them a couple of weeks ago. I was one of the few that said they were going to go into Texas and win. They reminded people of who they were. They beat up Texas's offensive line, made Quinn Ewers look average. We argued about Arch if he should have played or not.
He shouldn't have played at all.
Well, we're not rehashing that, but I disagree.
We can rehash it if we want to.
No, we ain't going to rehash it. But Ole Miss is coming in off of scoring 63 points at Arkansas last week. Carson Beck is doing...
You had him on upset alert, right?
Yeah, I did. That was bad. Carson Beck is doing his best Jordan Love impersonation. He has 11. He has 11 interceptions.
Brown and turkeys.
He has 11 interceptions this year when he threw 6 all last season. Georgia is not consistent at running the ball. So I think Ole Miss's defensive line, led by Walter Nolan, is going to give Georgia some problems. Can Georgia push them around enough to get that balance? Jackson Dart, 21 touchdowns, 3 picks. I'm just saying, so Trey Harris.
It must be more fun from a coaching standpoint to see. Like, hold on, let me rephrase it. I think if I'm a coach, like as a fan, I've watched football forever and I've watched like youth football. I just always found it more entertaining and more gratifying to dominate the trenches and demoralize the psyche of the team. throwing touchdown passes, unless you have like some super dynamic speedster that they can't cover, then you probably don't get that. But if I can run 3, 4 running backs at you, 2 tight ends, 5 offensive linemen, and we're just pushing your guys into the mud, because most teams don't sub at the defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
So it's those same guys just getting trampled all game long. To me, that seems more demoralizing and more dominant than throwing the ball over the top.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of things can go wrong for a guy to get wide open. If I get 7 guys to put 7 of your guys on their ass while I'm running the ball with the size of my offensive line, we talked about it earlier. Georgia's offensive line averages 347 pounds. There's no defensive line in college that can match that. I don't think as many defensive lines in the NFL as far as a weight can match up with the offensive line of Georgia. Granted, grown man strength versus college strength, but you're playing against college players and you have that kind of advantage. You should have 2 guys right now with 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns each. Without a doubt. Your quarterback should not have 11 interceptions.
So Trey Harris is doubtful again this week, but we saw Jordan Watkins go for 5 touchdowns last week, and he's one of the guys on the injury report as probable, so he's going to play. Last year between the hedges, Ole Miss came in, expectation, they were in the top 10. Georgia put them down 52-17. This year, Ole Miss is coming in. They lost that game earlier to Kentucky. They have a second loss on their resume. So no expectation. The expectation is that Georgia's going to walk in there and walk all over them. They're only favored by 2.5. But if you listen to the media, it's a whole lot of it's going to just look like the Texas game because Ole Miss and Texas have similar offensive styles. But you know what, Mr. Logical? I'm tired of this shit because last week Georgia was on the ropes. So you can't say, hey, they were looking ahead to Ole Miss because they were playing against Florida, who's their biggest rival. Florida was up in that game 20-6 at halftime. And guess what? Their quarterback got hurt. Georgia came back and scored 28 unanswered. So you know what? I'm going out on a limb. I'm going to give Lane Kiffin some respect and say that he finally gets it done. Give me Ole Miss 27-23.
I like it. I'm going to take Georgia.
Okay.
Like I said,
it's probably the smart thing to do, but
Yeah, because I don't really have like I said, I like Lane Kiffin. I like Jackson Dart. I like the athleticism of the skilled players of Georgia. Defensive backs, wide receivers, running backs. I just think that they just put more pressure on you than you can imagine. That kind of speed, if you don't throw it on time, you got a team with a lot of speed, it's tough.
Yeah. Okay. So then let's go down to Tiger Stadium. Might get some rain from Hurricane Raphael. So Alabama, LSU. The loser is in a whole lot of trouble when it comes to making the playoff.
You're out.
Maybe not.
I'm not even gonna give it any kind of euphemism. You out.
Maybe not. Maybe not. Because remember, conference champions get in. So Alabama's gone. If they lose, they're gone. LSU only has one SEC loss right now. So yes, they wouldn't get in as an at-large, but they would still have a path to the SEC championship game because we saw A&M lose last week to South Carolina. They do have the tiebreaker over LSU, though. Texas has the one loss, still in the SEC. Georgia has a loss. LSU beat Ole Miss. So if my prediction comes true and Ole Miss beats LSU, they're still ahead of Ole Miss in that SEC race. So there's a path for LSU, but Bama's absolutely done.
Yeah.
Now,
Bama's
the problem that I have with in this game, because I've been going back and forth, I've flipped coins. I flipped cheeseburgers. If it land on the cheese, Alabama. If it land on the meat, LSU. Pause. You know what I'm saying? And so here we are. Alabama's won 8 out of 10 in this series. Nick Saban was 6-2 at Tiger Stadium in his career. Brian Kelly still has not lost a night game in Death Valley. This game right here is why they brought Blake Baker in as defensive coordinator from Missouri. But this is the problem that I have, Mr. Logical. This is why I can't rectify this.
I'm listening.
Because LSU, when they played South Carolina earlier this year, Lenora Sellers ran all over them from the quarterback position. When they played A&M 2 weeks ago, they were up in the first half when Connor Wigman was playing.
But how many passes did he throw?
He got, I don't know.
That's
Not
the
very.
difference. Alabama calls a lot of pass plays and Jalen Milroe runs, and they don't run the ball.
But
That's
also
the difference.
But also 2 weeks ago, like I said, they played A&M before the bye. Connor Wigman, they had the game on lock. Connor Wigman goes to the bench. Marcel Reed comes in, runs all over LSU. So that's where, for me, I'm
That's like little Lamar, right?
Yeah. Jalen Milroe
Lamar.
is he's the right quarterback to go against LSU's defense. But the problem is, and I've been talking about this all year, Alabama secondary, and the player that I actually like in their secondary is out. So Garrett Nussmeier should have a pretty good game, provided Hurricane Raphael doesn't come through and make it all
rain,
all that kind of stuff like that. Ball slipping out his hand, paws, all that kind of stuff like that. This is not your typical DBU. So Ryan Williams, the 17-year-old you're talking about, made the big touchdown catch against Georgia to save that victory, but he needs help. Who's going to step up with him?
They throw the ball his direction a lot.
Well, against Tennessee, against Tennessee, right? Yeah, 20 targets. 20 targets against that's insane. I don't even do that on my video game.
The thing, that's what I mean. I don't know if these SEC schools forgot that some of the greatest running backs in college football and some of the greatest running quarterbacks ran behind lines of SEC schools. So give the ball to your running back. It's only so much a defensive line can handle.
Right.
Someone's gonna get through. You got to be willing to take a 6-yard run and not a 16-yard run. Like that 6-yard run on 1st and 10 gets you 2nd and 4. You can do anything from 2nd and 4. Especially when you have a mobile quarterback. Stop dropping back and throwing 20 passes to a guy who still has a curfew. Technically, he's not even an adult. Like, use all your assets, and I think that's going to be you can't expect the guy to come in. I know Nick Saban didn't leave the cupboard bare for Kalen DeBoer, but first time at LSU, that environment. Do you freeze up 4th and 1? Are you confident? Like, you know what, we're going for it? Or do you stand there and you look around the crowd and you hear the noise? Because I see it happen with coaches a lot. It's like, make a decision. You go punt, go for it. Those are your options. What are we looking like? Oh, 4th and 1 from the 49. What's the score? Oh, we're down 6. We're down 3 or tie game. Whatever it is, it's like 4th and 1. Hey, ref, can I get a measurement? Send the ref out there, get a measurement. Get you more time to come up with a good play. But don't burn the timeout. Don't be apprehensive. Just make your decisions. And I think sometimes in these environments, 110,000 people screaming for you. Some people screaming at you. TV. It's a lot of pressure. I don't know if he's ever coached in that kind of environment before and been successful.
So Brian Kelly really needs this game because he came to LSU, got to the SEC championship game his first year, even though they had a couple of losses. Last year you had Jaden Daniels, 50 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, Heisman Trophy. You didn't make the 14 playoff. So from this standpoint, I'm not saying that his job is in jeopardy or anything like that. I'm just saying confidence-wise, the team, the fans, he needs this game, especially when you got the A on the other sideline. Kalen DeBoer 6-0 coming off of buys, including the last 2 years, 2 wins against Oregon. Brian Kelly 20-3 coming off the bye, in his career. So when I look at this, the problem is Bama's offense. They're 132nd in the nation, meaning that they have the third most third and longs. So So 3rd and 7 or longer. They're the third worst in the country at having
Probably
them.
now, if you didn't have this information, check their first down passing stats. How often do they pass on first and second down, and that's what gets you to 3rd and 7 and 3rd and 8 and 39.
And that was the problem going into the Missouri game, was that their running backs hadn't ran for 70 yards. So that's why Jalen Milroe, has been doing what he's doing because he has to.
Give him the ball. There's no way you recruited players to Alabama who can't run the ball.
Yeah. So if the rain is coming down, I absolutely love Alabama. I absolutely love Alabama because LSU can't run the ball, even though Bama gives up the outside, the edges. So flipping a coin again in my mind, I'ma just land on Alabama 34-30.
I'm gonna take LSU because I think new coach, new environment, SEC night game. They just make the play that seals the game. I think
Okay.
LSU does that.
Okay, and then we take it up to Bloomington. The Indiana Hoosiers. All you got to do is get through this game.
You gotta beat Michigan.
You got to get through this game. You take your bye week, and then you go to Columbus. Mr. Logical. If Indiana wins this game, they will be 10-0 for the first time in school history. They are
playing football
forever. They're the only team in the Big Ten, including all the new teams, that has never had a 10-win season. So this is it. It's right here. The all-time record against Michigan, 10-62.
I was gonna say 7-45.
10-62. They beat Michigan when they had Michael Penix during the COVID year. They're top 10 in scoring defense, even though they haven't played the best competition. Michigan will have success, I believe, running the ball against them. But I think Indiana's offense is too high-flying. Last week, for the first time this season, Indiana trailed in a game. So now that just leaves Army as the only team that hasn't trailed
Never
yet.
trailed in a game.
So as you're sitting here watching this game, they fell down 10-0 in East Lansing. So everybody, there's Indiana. That's the real Indiana. What did they do? They scored 47 straight. 47 straight. They won 47-10. Will Johnson and Jair Hill, Michigan's two best defensive backs, Will Johnson being the best in the country, missed last week's game. We'll see if they play this week. So with all of that being said, I'm a believer in Sig Nasty, as they call him on the Until Saturday podcast. Kurt Signetti, James Madison's own. Give me Indiana. I think they cover. The spread is 14. I'm taking them 31-14 in this game. And then they take their bye week. They go to Columbus, and everybody goes, oh, shit. This is just Indiana. Oh, no, it ain't. It might be Indiana, but it ain't your daddy's Indiana.
This is a new Indiana.
That's right.
A Gen Z
and already it came out tonight, right before we recorded or started recording. Indiana's already trying to extend him, and because schools are going to be coming after the season.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, I'll take Indiana. I told you Michigan fans early this year is going to feel a lot like the Rich Rod, what's the
Brady
other
Hoke.
name? The Brady Hoke years. They better start cracking the NIL, or hopefully you can get some alumni to come and then save the day. But yeah.
And real quick, let me get your thoughts real quick. Yesterday, Florida decided to keep Billy Napier for another year. I don't know if it's actually going to happen, because I remember when Tom Herman was the head coach at Texas, they did the same thing, and he was still fired at the end of that year because they lost some games. They still got LSU, they still got Ole Miss, and you better damn sure not lose to the Seminoles at the end of the year.
I don't know what Florida fans want. I don't think he's done a bad job.
They want national. He's 15-19. They want national titles.
But you haven't had anything close to that since Tebow left. That was 15 years ago. Like kids that were not alive and born are high school kids now in that gap. Like they went
Mm-hmm.
from conception to ninth grade English. That's a
Right.
long time for you to be like, oh, we did this yesteryear stuff. It's like you haven't been good for a long time. You don't want like my thing is like I don't understand why they fire coaches like abruptly with the recruiting because I think that sets you back a couple of
Well, I think
years.
that's why they're keeping him because they have a pretty good recruiting class coming in. But since we're talking about it, it's guessing time, Mr. Logical.
All right, let's hear it.
Florida is coming down here to Austin tomorrow. What's the line on that game?
Texas favored by 13.
21 and a half.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's the state of Florida right now.
Well, I mean, they're dynamic quarterback, young but dynamic. Got injured.
Yeah, he
You
may
got to
not
factor
play.
that
Yeah, he
into
may
it.
not play. Yeah, but we'll see. That they're saying that he might. He's a game time decision right now, but I think they're just saying that. And
Yeah, you got to
by the
card it
way,
off.
college football fans, I am watching Iowa at UCLA right now. Deshaun Foster, he's got something going now that UCLA's coming back around. They played Oregon, they played Penn State, they played at LSU. They had a tough early schedule. They're up 17-10, 13:32 left in the game right now against Iowa. So props to Deshaun Foster for turning this season around.
Just
And
got to give a
explain.
better opening speech, man.
Yeah,
Just got to work on the speech.
But if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't know UCLA was in California, man. It's in Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles, yeah.
Yeah. So real quick,
USC's there too. It's the other school in LA.
So some quick random college football notes real quick. I got my eye on this game, Mr. Logical. South Carolina favored by 6 going down to Nashville to play my guy Diego Pavia in Vanderbilt, the the governor of Alabama, beating Alabama and Auburn this year. And he's suing the NCAA right now because he feels like he should have some more eligibility. He went to a junior college, all the stuff. So he's suing them right now, but I got my eye on that game. Did you know that Lincoln Riley benched Miller Moss?
And yes, I did because he's ready to transfer.
Yeah, and the word on the street is he might be going to Michigan. So, Jaden Maeva is coming in. He came in from UNLV last year. He'll add the legs dynamic to the game, but USC's just bad. Nebraska.
I can see why Nick Saban got out of the coaching gig because as soon as you bench a guy, it's like I'm going to transfer portal.
Yeah. Nebraska hasn't made a bowl game since 2017. They brought in Dana Holgerson, former Houston and West Virginia head coach, to be an offensive analyst because their offense has looked trash. Mr. Logical. So normally I ask you what the spread on.
So Matt Rule needed help?
Yeah. Saying year 3 is when his teams usually take off, though. That's next year. So that's what I said during our preseason. Like, next year is the year for Nebraska. All right.
Carolina really skyrocketed.
So normally I ask you what the spread on the game is.
I'm nailing it.
I got a different question for you this time. So, you can also bet team totals, how much a team is going to score. So you got Florida State.
Okay.
Going to Notre Dame.
Okay.
What do you think Vegas has Florida State's team total as?
17.5.
7.5. They've only scored 20 once this year, which was the opening game in Dublin against Georgia Tech. Their highest since then is 16.
Yeah, so I give him 13. Come on, Vegas.
And hold on, and since we brought it up, what's the spread?
You'd get more bets at 13.
What's the spread?
Oh, the way they beat the brakes off of, I'm gonna say 24.5.
25.5.
I told you I'd be nailing this shit.
25.5. Man. So those are my random notes for this week. We're gonna move on and take you for the first time this year.
Wait, hold on. We got to talk
about Iowa, by the way, 17-17. What's up?
We'll talk about the Holy War. Utah, BYU. It's
okay.
On ESPN, 10:15 Eastern. That's 8:15 Mountain Time.
Late.
So all the other games, prime time for Utah. It's not
Oh,
prime
and give me
time.
Colorado too, because now Texas Tech done made it personal.
So yeah, I know I touted BYU is going to be my college football playoff busters. But I'm still going to ride for Utah. I mean, I love the state, but I like red and black a little bit more than blue and white.
Well, you know they're doing the
Uh,
all blue, all red thing.
I'm gonna sit down and watch it. I'm gonna have me a nice little old fashioned watch the game. But yeah, so Utah, BYU. Utah's gonna be at disadvantage mainly because injuries, and you got a team that's ranked in the top. You got them at 9 in the college football playoff. They're probably gonna pull off the victory, but like I said, it's a great game to watch. It's gonna be intense. It's gonna be if it's there's been some games before Utah and BYU got their popularity because they're out in the Mountain West or the WAC. There's been some games. It's been like 45 yards back and forth scrambles, and he heaves it up and it gets tipped, caught at the 20, navigate, Hail Mary
Mm-hmm.
touchdowns. There's been some crazy endings to these games. So
Yes, there
if you want to
has.
if you want a good basketball game, I mean, excuse me, I'm watching the basketball game at the same time. If you want a good football game, Utah, BYU, Holy War, Saturday night at 10:15. So stay up late.
Do it. Do it.
So as we're talking about
So
the NBA,
seven out of the last 8 times that they've played has been one score games. So there you go. And I'm taking Utah just because, I think Kyle Whittington, the way that this season has gone, Kyle Whittingham, the way that the
yeah.
season has gone, I think that he is going to end up retiring. They have already named the coach in waiting. So I think they're gonna play their hearts out to get him this win, against BYU. To if they don't win another game this year, that'll be the swan song. That'll be the way
Yeah.
they send them out. And they do go to Boulder next week. So keep your eye on it. So for the first time this year, we are going to take you around the association. So, Mr. Logical, what you been seeing? What you thinking about the NBA so far?
What I'm seeing, uh, what I'm seeing is we got to get some young stars out there to do this thing. We got to get them showcase.
Mm-hmm.
LaMelo Ball's been playing like the rules don't apply to him. He's like, this I'm gonna shoot it. I'm gonna shoot 1 foot standstill 3 pointers. I'm gonna shoot off the step
What
back.
was
I'm gonna
it? The
shoot off
Michael
behind
Jordan
the back rim,
commercial? Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, out the window, across the street, off the telephone pole.
off my faux hawk, off my back tattoo, whatever he wants to do, he's doing
Nothing
it.
but net.
Grant Williams out here like a bully for no reason.
Yeah,
Uh,
I loved it though when he trucked Jason Tatum. I loved it.
it was so unnecessary. Like, dog, you could have stayed in Boston. You didn't. It is what it is. Like,
Mm-hmm,
I'm
mm-hmm.
all about, like, I don't do forgiveness. I know people always say you should forgive. I ain't got time for that. But I'm not gonna be petty and see
That's
people.
God's job.
Yeah, like let them
I'm a
sort it
human.
out
I
with
ain't
them.
got time to forgive
Yeah,
you.
listen, I'm living in a simulation for a select amount of years. I ain't got time for you. You good. You'll be all right. Uh I like I think the East is going to be one of these situations where two teams are going to run away with it. One team's going to be chasing. The rest of the teams are going to be fighting for 4 through 9.
Not
Uh,
Milwaukee though.
Milwaukee's going to do something drastic.
Well, they're trying to make so. According to what I saw today, they've been trying to make trades, but nobody's playing along. I don't know who they're trying to trade, but so far, no one has any interest in anything they're offering.
like we said in our pre-meeting, they're old, not in the sense of just age, but like philosophy. I think their coaching staff has an old philosophy headed up by Doc Rivers. Like if you think about the Lakers with JJ Redick, that's an extreme case of new. And I think he's bringing some old school stuff to it, but we've already seen what you're going to get from Doc Rivers for the most part. Legendary career, very lengthy career, a lot of moments throughout the basketball history involve Doc Rivers. Like I said, you can't tell a story about so and so. I mean, hell, he had a son in the league. He traded his son. I mean, The man's done a lot. He should not be coaching your team
Pause. Did you hear what his son said the other day?
about Karl Anthony Towns being more skilled than Jokic.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever he does the show with, I can't remember. Like I said, these that's what I mean. These podcasts. He said Karl Anthony Towns not a better passer than Jokic. He's like, yeah, so that's one thing. The dude was like, yeah, but that's a skill. That's the end of the conversation for me.
Jokic leads the league in rebounds right now.
But Karl's right there too.
Jokic is the focal point of his offense. Karl Anthony Towns has probably never been that.
Jokic can average 29 points and do the other things that Karl Anthony Towns does well and pass. So like that, and I think I don't know. I want to read in between all. I think he maybe was saying like, yeah, what? Oh shit, he made that. What what Karl Anthony Towns can do with the ball in his hand, if you just look at him like as a basketball player, is like watching Kyrie dribble the basketball and what he can do. He's like, I know what Cat can do, but Jokic seems to do it in the moments that counts and gets it on the stat sheet. You know what I mean? Like some guys can just be like that whole Aaron Rodgers throws the ball better than Tom Brady.
Right.
Okay, but
he doesn't make the throw.
He doesn't make the throw when you need it. Like Karl Anthony Towns might have he might be faster, he might have a quicker first step, he might have all these things that if you use an attribute calculator, he would get Jokic. But when it comes down to it, Jokic went like 33, 10, and 10 in an NBA Finals game.
Yeah, Karl Anthony Towns shoots better than Jokic. He might block shots better than Jokic, and that's it.
But he also waits for passes to get his shots off, whereas Jokic creates passes.
Jokic is the system out there, you know. Yeah. But real quick, speaking of Denver, you know, my takeaway from Denver is they're in trouble. I know they're 3-0 when Russell Westbrook starts, but Russell Westbrook is not one of their starters. Jamal Murray is just hurt right now. Aaron Gordon is hurt right now. And, you know, so that might be a blessing in disguise because now Mike Malone has to play some players that he wouldn't normally play. We talked about that last year, so that might help them come postseason time.
Yeah, but adversity helps you get through the end, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if Denver's going to finish with a top 4 seed in the West this year.
That's the thing. I think it's too early. As long as your team, because I don't believe there's any team in the West that whatever team that finishes 6th can't match up with the team that finishes 1.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, you're gonna have teams like the Lakers. The Lakers are gonna be a problem because they have 2 stars. Like I believe the Lakers are a 500 team. I think they're a 41 and 41 team. But having AD and LeBron playing lights out multiple games out of the week can get you to 47 and 35.
Right.
Will make you look a little better. I think the Trailblazers are going to be. They're never going to make their turnaround.
They're probably going to be the worst team in the league.
The Spurs. I think the Spurs not getting the ball to Wemby. People saying he looks out of place on the offensive end. So
they'll get there. He's too good. They'll get there.
I think the Clippers are
and hopefully Pop comes back. Hopefully he's okay.
Yeah, I think the Clippers are just they don't have the playmakers that have enough longevity. Because I don't think James Harden can be your guy without Kawhi. You know, so I think a lot of these teams are kind of like fade down. You might have a surprise, like the Rockets might play better. We know the Mavericks going to turn it on. They're gonna. How about
Phoenix? 8-1 right now.
Phoenix is 8-1. So like I think the matchup between, I think whoever ends up 1 through 8 can match up. Yes, Phoenix. If Phoenix is ended up in the 1 and Houston's at the 8, yeah, it might be a little bit of a gap. But wherever the Nuggets need to be, somewhere in that middle range, 6 or 7, I think they'll be able to match up in 7-game series in the playoffs.
You know what I wouldn't want to be? I wouldn't want to be a big man for the Indiana Pacers.
Why is that?
Because this season they already lost James Wiseman to an Achilles. They turned around and lost Isaiah Jackson to an Achilles.
Oh, my goodness.
And now they're talking to JaVale McGee. to come back up Miles Turner.
I like JaVale McGee.
I mean, I like him on that team because he might catch some oops, but I don't want to
That's
play
all
for
you
that.
need.
I don't want to play for that team if I'm a big man like right now. Like that's some bad
Yeah,
juju going on.
you gotta holler at the training staff.
Yeah, something's going on. I think that this Ryan Dunn kid for the Suns, it's real. It's real. Like here's a stat for you.
Let's hear it.
So Ryan Dunn and Royce O'Neal, former Utah Jazz, they are holding people. Royce O'Neal is holding people to 33% from the field. Ryan Dunn's holding people to just over 36% from the field. So that's something the Suns didn't have last year. They actually have a point guard this year in Tyus Jones. So, like, this might be, not saying that they're going to make this grand run or anything like that, but this might be what people thought that the Suns were going to be last year. Like, it might actually come to fruition this year.
Yeah.
And then they could finish with a top 4 seed or something along those lines. I think I'm looking at Boston and Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals. Cleveland with the 80 burger in the first half tonight against Golden State, and with a 41-point halftime
83
lead.
points in the first half.
Ridiculous. But Buddy Hield has stepped in for Clay, and Golden State hasn't really lost a step.
50% from 3.
Yeah, they haven't lost a step. Clay's been looking decent, so far this year. So here's a question for you. So the Bucks are 2-7 right now. What record does it take? Because I imagine Doc Rivers is going to get fired. Hold on. I imagine he's going to get fired during the season if this keeps up. So what record do they have to have before Milwaukee finally says, you know what, we've seen enough?
I think that conversation is happening right now, especially considering the guy that they fired is 8-1 in Phoenix.
And considering your best player is saying, like, I'll move on.
Unless you plan on starting over, then with, like, I'm talking about with your personnel, like, you might have to make some trades. They have players that work well with Dame and Giannis, but I don't know if they have players that other teams are going to want. And that's the problem. And I think a lot of teams run into that where you, excuse me, I think Denver's running into that where you have players, they're good. I think people might want Michael Porter Jr. I don't know if they want him at the same dime that Denver has him. I think the Lakers ran into that problem after their championship. Phoenix luckily got out of their boat, and then they were able to retool and get Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant. But I think Milwaukee might be in that boat to where either you make a change at the coach position now and turn it around with the players you have, or risk being somewhat irrelevant in the next year because you're not going to keep paying $50 and $60 million to your 2 stars if it's not going to get you to 50 wins.
So before they fire Doc, before it gets to that point, do you need Chris Middleton to come back first? So you can see the whole team together, I guess.
Do you have enough tape from last year till now to make you think about it? Because if you do, then you just go ahead and pull the trigger.
I say no. I don't think they have any tape that says that you should. And this is my, this is
Weren't
my
they 30-13 when they fired the other coach?
Yep, Adrian Griffin. Yep.
And they finished.
Like 16 and 17.
They still finished like 14,
like
15 games behind Boston in the East.
They ended up in were they the 5 seed? No, they were the 3 seed. They played Indiana in the first round. I think Indiana was the 6 seed.
They lost their first round playoff series.
Well, Giannis missed the series and Dame missed 2 games. So, like, can't blame Doc for that, I guess. But I think that as I look around the NBA, I feel pretty good about my OKC to the finals pick because they just lost their first game last night to Phoenix, but they've been looking good. They don't have Hartenstein yet. I think that SGA is just, I think he might have stepped it up another level. Ja Morant
I
looks
think
good. He's
there's
back.
real flow in what they're doing too.
Yeah. Ja Morant is back and, making incredible plays. Scoot Henderson, jury's still out. Hasn't been looking good. But hey, the Detroit Pistons, they've already got 4 wins in their first 10 games.
4-6. You get some veterans out there. I know people weren't really big on Anthony Hardaway last year because of his finals performance. And then you got, Tobias Harris. But you still got to factor in these guys are
Who
6'8".
Hardaway?
Oh God, I keep saying it. Tim Hardaway Jr. I don't know what to say Anthony. I think I was thinking about some phone posits.
But yeah, like Tobias Harris, has been playing
Yeah,
lights out.
these guys are still 6'8", 6'9" basketball players, and it's like they can make impact if you give them an opportunity. Especially if you,
Mhm.
I know Houston, like we talked about Houston. Like I felt Houston had too many expensive veterans, cheap rookies who want to be expensive. I think Detroit's done it properly, where you have expensive young guys that are coming up, and you have some veterans that kind of filling these gaps for you. So I like what they got going on. I think Bickerstaff is going to do a great deal there.
Did you
Um,
know that there's no rookie averaging 15 points a game?
yes,
I saw Reese
the
go
number
off
one
for
pick comes off
33
the
last
bench,
night.
and he
Well, he
coming
went
off the
off for
bench.
30. Yeah, he went off for 33 last night. But he's still only averaging 12 points a game. They were the team that Detroit beat tonight. So, there's that. But he came off the 33-point game, 7 points tonight.
Because it's luck. It's a little bit of skill, but it's not. There's not any. And he said it in an interview that he's so used to being like the most athletic guy on the court, and then you get to the league, and it's like, oh, everybody moves like this. So
Right.
now it's a matter of like, okay, how do I get these shots off? And you see some of the more experienced guys, like you got Paul George, you got SGA, AD, LeBron, KD, Dame. Some of these guys just know how to get their shot. Even a guy like Austin Reeves, I'm watching him just figure out how to get in the rhythm, how to get his shot. These rookies just have to figure out how to do that. But a lot of them just kind of ended up on teams where there wasn't an expectation for them to come in and do that. Like
Yeah.
like when De'Aaron Fox ended up in Sacramento, it was like, okay, you are going to be the point guard that we follow. Same thing, Tatum ended up with Kyrie, so he got to learn from Kyrie. So it benefited the team going forward. Some of these other teams don't have that same luxury. And I think some of the rookies are just put in situations where who are you learning from? And are you learning, are you throwing it to the fire or are you throwing it to the library?
Yeah, my guy Kula Bali in year 2, 17 and some change. Grady Dick averaging 21. As I was looking around, I wanted to ask you this, but
Him
we
and Kate
hadn't.
Cunningham probably going to be in the running for most improved.
Yeah, I told you he was coming, man. Um, but I wanted to ask you. We didn't have a chance because he got suspended in between our shows. But Joel Embiid, 3-game suspension. Too much, too little.
So is the suspension just like for the shove or the altercation?
Yes.
I think they give you one or two when you have an interaction with the player. So 3 is
For a
probably like
civilian.
ref, reporter, and fan. I
Yeah.
think 3 is probably like a good number. Uh
I mean, it's hard to suspend somebody. I mean, he ain't playing anyway.
you just gave him more rest.
Yeah.
He's plenty of money, so I don't
More
know what
rest
his
that you're going to complain about.
yeah. You like I would have
And
played
here
you if
they
y'all
are.
would have
Are
let
they going
me.
to make the playoffs?
Nah.
Because I mean, they're 1-6 coming into tonight.
They're 1-6 coming in tonight.
So about to
Maxey's
be
out.
one and
Paul
seven.
George is playing, but you never know. The Lakers
Well,
sometimes
Tyrese
like
Maxey is out for the next 2 weeks with a hamstring.
these 17-point leads can vanish rather quickly if you give up the three. Nick Nurse is a good coach.
He
It's
is.
just how I was talking about Milwaukee. Milwaukee is like they're too long in their whatever this iteration of success is. So taking the championship you won with Giannis, and you're trying to stretch it. It's that last little bit of milk, and you try and stretch it with water, and you got the ketchup. It might be time to just go back to the grocery store. Go get you new stuff. I think Philly's at that point. The Paul George signing didn't make a lot of sense to me because, like I said, it doesn't match your timeline.
Right.
But the team you have now, you're in win now mode, but I don't think you have win now players. You're just in this psyche saying you're in win more, but it's like you don't have the players for that. Like you don't have the team that competes with right now this year Cleveland, Boston, OKC. Who else? Like who else is one of these teams? Like Phoenix. Well, Phoenix and Philly might match up more because stylistically they're a little older. They can play a little slower, and I think Philly's probably hoping and thinking like maybe we can have that kind of a resurrection with our big three. It's just the problem is like I don't know if Paul George fits what they do because I don't know if he's physically capable of carrying a team. He's 34 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Like he should be on a $12 million a year deal.
Yeah.
Not like 4 times that.
And college basketball just started again. You got Kansas beat North Carolina tonight on Tuesday. We have the Champions Classic, Kansas against Michigan State, followed by Duke and Kentucky, Cooper Flag in the big spotlight. But Mr. Logical, the reason that I brought up college basketball.
Let's hear it.
You remember how I said Doug Peterson was on borrowed time?
Yes.
I have a college basketball coach to add to that list.
Already?
It's
November.
Kyle Neptune, head coach of Villanova. He's the guy that replaced the guy. He was chosen, partially chosen by the guy. He was the head coach at Fordham. He had Fordham turning around up in the Bronx, BX stand up, and they brought him in. This is his 3rd year. They didn't make the NCAA tournament in either of his first 2 years. So, Mr. Logical, when you come into the 3rd year and you haven't made the tournament, and don't forget now, Jay Wright's last year, they made the Final Four.
Yeah. He's
so no
NIL money.
Yeah, so no back-to-back NCAA tournaments. You know what they did, Mr. Logical?
Extended them.
They opened up the season with a 10-point loss to Columbia.
The Ivy League school?
Yes.
Were they running a Princeton offense? I mean, those back cuts are dangerous now.
They lost by 10 to the Columbia Lions. You can lose to Princeton. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might even get an excuse if you lose to Harvard because, they have Tommy Amaker for a lot of years. Maybe we'll let you off the hook if you lose to Penn. Just because they're in Philly, there's the city rivalry and all that kind of stuff. You can't be out here losing to the Columbia Lions. You just can't do it. Because as I look this up real quick, I'm going to ask you a question. And this will be our last question before we get out of here.
Word.
You know what I'm saying? So the Columbia Lions, the Ivy League school, as you put it. When do you think the last year that the Columbia Lions made the NCAA tournament?
1948.
Damn, you harsh. Damn. 1968.
That's close.
Richard Nixon was the president the last time they made the NCAA tournament. And Villanova, coming off of 2 years without making the tournament, opened up their season with a loss to that team. Texas A&M went down to UCF. That was the first ranked team to go down this year. So college basketball is in full swing right now, man. We got Louisville and Tennessee tomorrow, I believe. I mentioned the Champions Classic on Tuesday. So, we here, man. We here. I got to get ready. It's going to be March before we know it.
March Madness is crazy. Gotta keep your eye on UConn. Gotta keep your eye on what next coach is gonna be, next NBA coach, because I think these NBA teams are gonna stop recycling these old former NBA coaches and start trying to get a more diverse offensive package.
So
because I'm watching the Lakers. Lakers are up 13 right now.
I lied. One more question for you.
One more question? All right, let's go.
Yeah. SMU football. Did you see the quarterback that they signed?
Like a 5-star recruit or something?
They signed somebody's son. That makes us feel old as shit.
Phillip Rivers.
Matt Leinart.
Matt Leinert's kid's a
Cole. His name is Cole Leinart. He's the top quarterback in his class, and he's going to SMU. I'm not sure. I didn't see all that. But he's going to SMU, so I just want to say that to say, don't be surprised if SMU is – this ain't a fluke. Like this year I was down on them. I thought that they were a good team, but I thought that making the transition from G5 to a power conference, I thought their offensive line and defensive, their lines would have problems adjusting. But, hey, they're undefeated in the ACC. We talked about them potentially being a playoff team the other night. So they got that Texas money. They paid $30 million. They raised $30 million in a week to get to the ACC. And they're not even taking the money from the ACC for the first 9 years that they're in the ACC, the TV money. And they still were able to go get Matt Leinart's son.
Who's also Matt Leinart's son is the older brother to Blake Griffin's kid.
That's correct.
Matt Leinart and Same baby mama. Who was I think she was like a volleyball star at USC. So their kids are tall.
Mm-hmm. So but I'm just saying, now I'm feeling
basketball star.
Now I'm feeling old. You know what I mean? Like Carmelo's son gonna be starting college next year, the Boozer twins.
But the thing with the Carmelo son and even Bronny, we've seen them like the whole way. It was like it's like watching your own kids grow up.
Right.
But if you sit around and it's like, Frank Gore's son's in the NFL, you're like, what?
Yo, Bronny about to have these WNBA fans mad. You know what I'm saying? Because that they got the tickets going on in the G League. He's got playing his first game tomorrow. They're sold out. Like, oh man, people gonna go see Bronny. Those Caitlin Clark fans, they already probably supporting Texas Tech.
When's the WNBA season starts after the NBA season? So it's like, what are they worried about?
I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? Because the women
you should want them to have an appetite for basketball.
Well, the WNBA is talking about potentially going on strike.
They definitely need to negotiate they need to figure out some kind of way to get the money. I don't know if it's a strike. Excuse me. It might be like a owners, players band together and go to the networks like, yo, let's work out something.
And you see
breaking some kind of bread off.
And you see Caitlin Clark took my coach because, I don't know if you knew this or not, but, I dedicated myself to being a Connecticut Sun fan, because of Dejanay Carrington, Dejanay Carrington. But their coach is now Stephanie White. She's the head coach of the Fever now. So she's going to be Caitlin Clark's new coach. I didn't see who the Chicago Sky hired, but I wasn't happy that they fired their coach to begin with. But
they fire coaches just as rapidly as the NBA,
you
so
know,
they got that part down.
We got the new San Francisco franchise coming. You know, more expansion to come down the road. So the WNBA is in a good place. We'll see if they can keep it going. You know, college basketball started the other night or other day on Monday, I believe it was. It was either Monday or Tuesday. I was at the gym. You know, I was on the elliptical and I looked up and I saw Juju Watkins with 27 points and 10 rebounds against Ole Miss.
Yeah, she's the one.
She's the one.
She is a grown woman amongst little girls,
yeah,
for
I think
sure.
She's just a sophomore too. She was a freshman last year.
Yeah, she was a true freshman last year.
Yeah, so
and that's like they said that the 3-year rule. Yeah,
so one more year. You know, but Paige is coming out this year. You know, Haley Van Lith, you know, be coming out this year. You know, so you know, I'm here for it. You know, like
some more faces with some talent. Like they're talented basketball players.
Yeah. It looked like UCLA, you know, 1:50 left. They're in the red zone against Iowa, up 3. So can they get a big upset here? You know, but ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your weekends. Enjoy the sports. Enjoy football. Enjoy the NBA. Alabama, Absolutely. LSU, Ole Miss, Georgia, Houston Texans, Detroit Lions, Miami, and the Rams on Monday Night Football. 49ers are off their bye with CMC. Commanders and Steelers. We got a lot of football. The Falcons going down to the House of Horrors.
And we're going to tear that
up. You know if the Falcons lose this game, that House of Horrors ain't, you know, that phrase and terminology ain't going away.
They're good. Get the ball to Bijan, give it to Tyler Algier.
Shout out to Michael Thomas when keeping it real goes wrong. You know, shout out to Le'Veon Bell, the Trump supporter that out here getting exposed by trans. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, MAGA don't stand for that. You know what I'm saying? All right, we're going to get out of here. I'm too drunk. We'll see you on Monday or Tuesday. We'll be back Tuesday with some NFL reaction, college football reaction. We love you. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate. Do all the free things. Do all the good things. And we out. Peace.